The second sunrise. Page 1, the ticket. Harold Bennett was 50 years old and tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, the kind that settled deep in the bones after decades of the same routine. Every morning for the last 20 years, he'd woken before dawn, driven his rusting blue Ford pickup down County Road 12, and clocked in at Miller's Hardware. By 7, he'd be unloading shipments of screws, nails, and paint cans. By 5, he'd go home, eat leftovers, and fall asleep in front of the TV. Fridays. Though Fridays were different. Every Friday, Harold stopped at Donnie's Corner Mart, bought a 6-pack of beer, a pack of beef jerky, and 1 lottery ticket. Same numbers every week. 3, 9, 14, 22, 36, and 41. His late wife, Clara, had picked them years ago: birthdays, anniversaries, and the date they met. When Clara passed from cancer 6 years back, Harold kept playing the same numbers. Not because he believed in luck, but because it made him feel like she was still around. That Friday night, he placed the ticket on the kitchen counter and turned on the old TV. The numbers flickered across the screen. 3, 9, 14. His heart started to thump. 22, 36. Harold leaned forward, hands trembling. 41. Silence filled the room, the kind that makes you dizzy. Then he whispered, voice cracking. No way. He checked again. Once. Twice. A third time. The numbers didn't change. $200 million. Harold Bennett, the man who still cut coupons and microwaved coffee twice, was now richer than the whole town combined. He laughed, then cried, then laughed again until his sides hurt. Page 2, the weight of fortune. The next morning, Harold woke up before the sun, heart pounding with disbelief. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe he'd wake up back in aisle 7, stacking fertilizer bags. But the ticket was still there, lying on the counter like a loaded gun. At the gas station, Donnie nearly dropped his coffee. Harold, you serious? Harold nodded, showing the slip. Donnie let out a whistle. Harold Bennett, a millionaire? Guess it's about damn time someone decent won. Word spread fast. By noon, people Harold hadn't spoken to in years were calling, texting, showing up just to say hi. His neighbor, Judy, brought him a homemade pie. His old boss at the hardware store offered to help manage his new finances. Even his cousin Rick, who hadn't visited since Clara's funeral, called to say family should stick together in times like this. By Monday, Harold had hired a lawyer and a financial advisor. The lawyer, a woman named Simone, with sharp eyes and a calm voice, told him quietly, Mr. Bennett, you don't owe anyone a thing. Not a cent. He nodded, but he still felt strange. Money didn't change the ache in his chest where Clara's laugh used to be. It didn't make the house feel less empty. So he did what he'd always done. Got in his truck and drove. But now, instead of heading to Miller's Hardware, he drove aimlessly down country roads. Windows open, wind on his face. He thought about what Clara would say. She'd probably smile that half smile and say, Don't you dare waste it, Harold. Do something that matters. Page 3, the dream reborn. Weeks passed. The money hit his account, a number so large it made him dizzy. Harold started small. He paid off his mortgage, bought a new truck, and donated $500,000 to the local hospital where Clara had spent her last days. Then he went to Miller's Hardware and handed each of his coworkers an envelope with $10,000 inside. Retirement bonus, he said with a grin. But still, something was missing. One evening, Harold drove past the old community center, the one where he and Clara used to volunteer. The roof sagged, the windows were boarded up, and the playground was overgrown. He stopped the truck, got out, and just stared. That night, he made a decision. He'd rebuild it. Within weeks, the small town of Oak Hollow buzzed with life again. Construction crews tore down the old structure, and Harold was there every day, hammer in hand, just like the old days. When people asked him why, he shrugged and said, Because I can. By the time winter rolled around, the Clara Bennett Community Center stood shining under the snow. It had a gym, classrooms, a library, and a garden. Kids played basketball inside while parents gathered for evening classes. Harold didn't just write checks, he worked there. He taught kids how to build birdhouses, fix leaky faucets, and plant trees. The local paper called him the kind millionaire. But Harold didn't feel like a millionaire. He just felt alive. Page 4, the second sunrise. 2 years later, the center was thriving. People came from neighboring towns to see what Oak Hollow had built. Harold still lived in the same house, though he'd replaced the peeling wallpaper and fixed the creaky porch swing. On summer mornings, he'd sit with his coffee watching the sun rise over the hills. Sometimes he'd talk to Clara out loud. "Guess you were right, honey," he'd say. "Did something that mattered?" One morning, a little girl from the community center stopped by. She was about 8, with missing front teeth and paint on her hands. "Mr. Bennett," she said shyly, "my mom says thank you for the classes. She got a new job 'cause of it." Harold smiled, eyes misty. "Tell your mom I'm proud of her." As she ran off, he looked toward the sky. The sun was climbing over the horizon, painting everything gold. For the first time in years, Harold didn't feel tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, or even the kind that money could cover. He just felt grateful. And as the morning light touched the new community center, the one that carried Clara's name, Harold Bennett realized that winning the lottery hadn't changed his life. It had given him the chance to start it over.